I know a man. Let's call him Dave. He's earmarked the crap out of Gary Chapman's Love Languages, swears by its merits, and has gifted over a dozen copies to the men in his life. A few weeks ago, Dave's wife left him. The divorce papers citing half a decade of emotional abuse. He never raised his voice, let alone a fist, but knew how to make her feel like crap without even trying. He KO'd her heart by weaponizing his love, likely unconsciously. He was too consumed learning the languages of love, reducing a wordless force into an ever-depreciating currency, instead of opening his heart to the most precious gift right before him. I know another man. We'll call him Paul. Paul's walked on coal, can quote Covey on command, and has collected more Hilton honor points than any man ever should. Last year, while Paul was seminar hopping as if it's a damn sport, his company went bankrupt. At least that's what it'll say in the legal doc. But in reality, it was corporate euthanasia, a self-inflicted death punch to a cancerous business that was slowly bleeding him dry and taking his partners and employees down with him. Now, these are just two stories of many. Sometimes I wonder what other stories could be told. I imagine that in 20 or 30 years from now, some anthropologists would tell some entertaining, albeit messed up tales about how men of our generation chose to embark on their growth. An objective stance might reveal how synthetic and sanitized it all was. Superficial, consumeristic self-help masquerading as self-mastery. They'll point to the masturbatory meme consumption, confusing a social share with hard-earned, deeply integrated wisdom that can be outwardly expressed to the benefit of all. They'll talk about a generation of men more influenced by a 30-second Chevy spot than their own inner power and intuition. Men with a mountainous stack of self-development books, yet who've never stood on an actual mountain peak, relishing in their own personal conquest. A generation of men who would fly to overpacked stadiums and stuffy seminar rooms, fist bumping on cue and journaling on command. All the while, the transformation they so desperately sought was available right there in that split second they kissed their wife and child goodbye. Men, perhaps like you, who followed the greats with religious fervor, the Brian Tracy's, Napoleon Hill's, and Stephen Covey's, yet never truly awakened their own greatness within. They'll talk about men who brilliantly disguised the gluttony of consumption for the life-giving nourishment of progress. Men who allowed lesser men to take life's tests for them, outsourcing the challenge yet expecting every bit the reward. And if these anthropologists in our story could allow themselves to break free from their detached academic frame, even just for a moment, mostly they'd weep for a generation of well-meaning men who simply missed the point, a generation of self-proclaimed trailblazers who bypassed the beauty and richness already before them. Or maybe, just maybe, our fictional anthropologists would joyfully celebrate the few men who awakened to the truth that the fires of transformation were right before them all along. The men who rightly recognized that they didn't need to sit in seat 16D to chase the growth they so desperately desired. They simply had to sit in the raging flames of their own lives long enough and melt away the thick armor of resistance. The men, perhaps like you, who woke up to the realization that the sacredness of initiation hasn't disappeared, but simply comes in different packaging. Namely, the 7 initiatory fires of modern manhood. Which fires, you ask? We're talking about your intimate relationships, fatherhood, your pursuit of purpose, your business and livelihood, thriving physically and mentally in an unhealthy world, thriving emotionally and spiritually in an unbalanced world, and expressing fully in a suppressed world. From this point forward, should you choose to be part of this brotherhood, everything we share will be around empowering you to stand firm in these fires. Together, we'll empower and celebrate the men who stood tall in these flames, who allowed themselves to be utterly consumed and transformed by them. The men courageous enough to die countless deaths in a single lifetime and be reborn just as many. The men who refuse to spend a lifetime preparing for a battle they were already engaged in. For the demands of modern man require an evolutionary leap in being, not an endless cycle of self-congratulatory personal growth seminars, nor an exceedingly impotent commentary on where things went wrong. No, the goal is no longer to start a conversation around what is meaningful and necessary, but to fire up the engine that drives us to change. My brother, it's time to start living the answer to how will men go right? Man will go right by bringing sacredness, power, and radical self-love to his present struggle rather than shame and self-hate, and by taking full ownership over its transformation into something greater. Man will go right when he stops bypassing the blood trail of his own destruction, when he can take full responsibility for all he's done, when he can experience a cracking open of his heart and the inevitable heartache that comes from truly sensing where he's unknowingly caused harm to self or other. Man will go right when he stops trying to escape from the vice grips of modern manhood, and instead deeply recognizes that those vice grips themselves are the initiatory fires possessing all the characteristics needed to lead you through the dark night the moment you stop bypassing them for something more superficially enthralling. Man will go right when he favors self-actualization over self-preservation, when he can courageously step into the flames knowing that what emerges on the other side will be greater than anything he can ever fathom. For a life of courage isn't one where we avoid the flames. It's one where we throw ourselves headlong into them, knowing in our hearts that what reemerges has no choice but to be a stronger, more evolved expression of ourselves. When we resist these flames, we resist ourselves. And I can personally think of no greater waste of one man's life. So the decision becomes, will we be the generation of men remembered for our uncanny ability to talk big dreams and fist bump on cue? Or as the kings who answered the call, the wide-eyed wanderers reveling in the fires we've been gifted in our lives? Will our hearts beat louder than the droning monotony we've succumbed to? Will we regain sovereignty of mind and spirit, or only tighten the shackles over our own hearts? Will we express our authentic power for the highest good and benefit of all? Or will we contract into self-protection and exile, withering away in the same fetal position we were born into, letting the ravens of time peck away at what's left of our once sacred life? There's a popular saying that goes, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. The teacher has appeared. She's your lover. She's your child. She's your ruthless pursuit for a life of meaning and purpose. She's your mission. She's your body, your heart, your soul. She's your inner light. Resist the selfish exile of retreat. Stop being MIA in your own life. Brave the flames, forge your crown, emerge as a king. Hey guys, Hendrix Black here. Thanks so much for watching this video. If these themes are resonating with you, I invite you to take the next step and join the Quantum King movement, where you'll find an epic community of thousands of other men just like you who are committed to growing in their depth, love, and power across all of life's major pillars. Now, depending on where you're watching this, you should see a link somewhere in the video description or in the comment section below. Give that link a click, sign up to the movement, and stay tuned for a special initiation package with even more great content and practices coming your way real soon. Much love, and I'll catch you guys soon.